Hi, I'm Mrs McTaggart. In this video I'm going to take you through solutions to paper F, paper 2 of the practice papers on the National 5 website. Okay, so question 1 is your scientific notation. These ones people sometimes struggle with the wording of it. They're asking you for circumference of a circle, right? Circumference of a circle is C equals pi d. So that's your starting point. C equals pi d. We all know what pi is, it's just pi, or 3.14, but we're going to use our pi button. Now your diameter is double your radius, so it's this number times 2. There's no need to work out what that is, right? You could just do that that's 4.96 times 10 to the power 7 times 2. Now we're going to type this straight into a calculator because it's a calculated paper. You're looking for the button that says times 10 with a wee x up there, or if you've got an older version, one that says exp, that works as your times 10 to the power bit, and you can just type it all in one go. Alternatively, what if you're not too sure about using that button? What you could do is just write it as pi times, write this number out in full, is 496 with 5 zeros, because we've moved that decimal point 7 places, times 2. So you could type it in like that, but preferably if you've got you know how to use that button, just use it. So we type that in, and you type it in as 4.96, hit that button 7, and then times 2. And you get an answer of 311645991.2. Right. They wanted it in scientific notation. You might be lucky and your calculator might do that for you. Mine doesn't. The number hasn't been big enough. So into scientific notation, they've not mentioned rounding, but I would urge you just to round this a wee bit. We're going to put the dot after the 1. So it's after the 3, sorry. So it's going to be 3 point, and I'm going to make that not 1, 1, but I'm going to round it to 1, 2, times 10, and I'm moving the dot from here to there, which is moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places. So power 8. And I'm just going to write at the side that I did that to 2 decimal places. So it was 3.12 times 10 to the power 8. If I don't round it, then writing it in scientific notation is not shortening it at all. You're just giving yourself actual more writing. But you would get it correct if you wrote 3.116 and so on times 10 to the power 8 as well. Okay, question 2, your standard repeated percentage question. So let's have a wee read. We have a boat that is going down in value by 8% for 4 years. So if someone's going down by 8%, you start with 100, you take away 8, and that is equivalent of 92%. As a decimal, 92% is written as 0.92. You're just dividing by 100. We're doing it for 4 years, so power 4 times 35,000. Okay, so that's just a quick way of doing these ones. It's the easiest way to do it instead of repeatedly doing the same sum. So this gives us times 35, 1, 2, 3, answer of 2507. This is money, and they've not mentioned rounding, so nearest penny, 2 decimal places, there is the value of the boat. And that's that one. Okay, question 3 is a change of subject of the formula to x. So first thing you deal with is the thing that's not attached to the x, which is a plus a. So we've got x over c equals plus a becomes minus a on the other side. X is being divided by c, so we're going to times by c. And you could just leave it like that, or you could multiply it out as doing cb minus ca, but I think it's fine to leave it like that. Question 4 is a lovely, straightforward simultaneous equations. You don't have to make them up. You don't have to do anything. They're just there for you. So first thing I do is I always try and get the middle numbers the same, but one a plus, one a minus. So I'm going to times the top one by 3 and the bottom one by minus 2. Okay, so top equation will become 12x, 6y and 39. Bottom equation minus 10x, minus 6y, and minus 34. Then I can just add them together. 12 take away 10 is 2x. The y's disappear, and that gives me 5. And 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Okay, normally we say, oh, just double check if it's decimals. So far it looks not too bad. It's not like a recurring decimal, so we're going to continue with it. So if I'm using 2.5, I'm going to go back to my very first equation, and I'm going to do 4 times 2.5 plus 2y equals 13. So that gives me 10 plus 2y equals 13. 13 take away 10 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So again, quite a nice decimal. Just going to go double check my answer. So in the second equation, 5 times 2.5 plus 3 times 1.5. That means 12.5 plus 4.5 is 17. So yeah, I've got the right answer. Remember, that bit's not necessary. So solving the equations, your final answers are x equals 2.5, y equals 1.5. They could also have asked that as find the point of intersection of these two lines. If it was that, you would write it as a coordinate at the end, but they've not asked it, so we don't need to worry about that. We're done. Volume of a toy. So we've got a hemisphere and a cone. So let's start with the cone. So the cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. Now that's given to you in the formula sheet, okay? And the hemisphere, remember it's a half sphere. So there's two ways of doing this. The sphere, I can't say that. The sphere volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. But I want to half that, so I stick on a divide by 2. Some teachers half the 4 and say that that would be 2/3, but I think stick a divide by 2 on the end there. Right, let's look at this. So the radius of both shapes is the same. It is half of 10, which is 5. So we've got 1/3 times pi times 5 squared times, oh, now wait a minute, the height of the cone is the tricky bit. It's not 16. Now, if we said the radius was 5, that means that's 5, that's 5, that's 5, that's 5, that's 5 as well. So that means from there to there is 5, making the height of the cone 11, because 5 plus 11 is 16. So the height of the cone is 11, and I suspect that that's where a lot of people are going to go wrong in that one. So when you type that into your calculator, you get an answer of 403.17. Now keep it to two or three decimal places. Don't round any more than that because it will change your answer slightly. The hemisphere has the same radius, so it's 4/3 times pi times 5 cubed divided by 2. Be very careful typing that one in. A lot of people, when they go to do it, don't cube the 5. And halving that gives us 261.799. Now, the hemisphere, some people will go get the full sphere and then half their answer. I'm just going straight to halving it in one go. So the total volume is the two of these added. So I'm just going to write cone plus hemisphere. Probably it's maybe a bit quicker than writing the numbers. So when I add the two numbers, as long as you know you're adding, you don't specifically need to write down the numbers. So it's 664. Now it gives me 969, so 97, and it was in centimetres, so cubic centimetres. Oh, and they asked for 2 sig fig, so to 2 sig fig that would be 660. So look, I nearly missed that. Please double check at the very end. Volume and percentages, very common to ask for sig fig. Okay, the next question, I'm just looking straight. I see that diagram. It's a tunnel tanker question. It's Pythagoras. They want to find the width of the stand. So I'm going to draw in my right angle triangle. The triangle always comes from the centre to the outside, the centre to the chord. And so there's my right angle. Information, they tell me that E to F is 18. So from here to here is 18. So the bit in my triangle is 9. It tells me the radius is 15, so that means the slope is 15. Now, the only thing I can do right now is work out this side here, so I'm going to call it x. It's a short side, so I'm going to do 15 squared minus 9 squared, which gives you 144. You then square root that, which is 12. So we've got nice numbers here, so that bit is 12. We have to find the width of the stand. So I'm going to just rub that out because I now know that that wee distance there is 12, right? Now this bit here that I'm drawing in from 0 to the bottom is your radius, so it's also 15. So the width is 12 plus 15, which is 27 centimetres. Okay, so there are always 3 scenarios with these ones. It's either adding to the radius, taking off the radius, or doubling your answer. And in this case, it was adding to the radius. And most people will get up to the x equals 12 and just struggle with that last wee bit. Okay, next question, trig and bearings, just from looking at it. So let's see, we want the angle ABC. So I'm going to have to make this diagram a wee bit bigger, okay? Just to draw on. So what's going on is, the bearing of B is 74, which we've got in there. It tells us also that from C, so from C, the bearing of B is 310. So this angle from here, oops, a daisy. This angle from here right round to here is 310. That makes this little bit in here, which I'm shading in, that makes that 50, right? Now if I draw in another north line at B, I can use Z shapes. So if I change my colour pen to show you, here is a Z shape. So in here is 50. Here is another Z shape, okay, on its side. So in here is 74. Now that's not the best colour to use, but it does mean the angle ABC is 74 plus 50, which is 124. Now if you're sat in an exam and you're really struggling, this could mean that you can't do part B. So please, if you can't do part A, just make up an angle. It looks like an obtuse angle, so make a guess of 120, draw it on your picture and then go from there, or write it down for part A, because you can still pick up the 4 marks for the rest of it. So then gives us the dimensions. So I'm just going to draw this triangle again because there's too much going on in my other one. So what we've got is we've got an angle of 124. We're told that A to B is 230, is that correct? Yeah. So A to B is 230 and 110 from C, and that's 110. We want to know the distance of A to C to 3 sig fig. So it's one of those ones, two sides, angle in between, it is cosine rule. So x squared equals, now this is the one where you do A squared plus B squared, so it's 230 squared plus 110 squared minus 2 times each of those numbers, times cos of your angle, so cos 124. I'm going to type that all in, and you get 93295. Remember, that's still too big because we've still to square root our answer. So the square root of that number. This line isn't technically necessary. So square root that and you get 305.442. I'm just writing that down because they asked for 3 sig fig. So 3 sig fig means keeping the 3, the 0 and the 5. And that was metres, and that was to 3 sig fig. I normally don't ask for rounding in the trig ones, but just always watch at the end. That's what you spend your extra time doing in the exam if you are finished. Question 8 is similar fractions. So this is when I do smile and kiss. So the kissing part gives us x plus 1, x minus 2 on the bottom. Just sandwich them together. Start with the top left. Cross multiply gives you 3 bracket x minus 2 minus sign in the middle. And then 1 bracket x plus 1. I'm going to put that in because you'll see why in a wee second. Right. Oops, daisy. So multiply out the top line and tidy it up. So that gives you 3x minus 6. Now the reason I put the 1 in is because there was a takeaway there in the fraction. So that means I've got to really times this bracket by minus 1. So that gives me minus x minus 1. If I hadn't have done that, the temptation would have left that as a plus 1. All over x plus 1, x minus 2. Tidy up your top line. That gives you a 2x and a minus 7 all over your 2 brackets. And that's that one. So straightforward, you get a mark for the bottom line, you get a mark for this top line, you get a mark for tidying up. Nice easy 3 marks if you remember smile and kiss. Okay, question 9. We have like a dial that's going around on a set of scales. They tell us that the tip of the pointer moves 2 centimetres for every 100 grams, right? So I'm just going to write that down. So 2 centimetres for every 100 grams. And the pointer is 9 centimetres long, so that means our radius is 9. Parcel is placed in the scales and moves through an angle of 284. We have to find the weight of the parcel. So the weight on the parcel, basically they're asking for the arc. So it tells you it moves 2 centimetres for every 100 grams. So if we can get the arc, we can get the weight. So arc equals your angle over 360 times pi d. Remember, pi d is circumference, pi r squared is area, so arc is pi d. Our angle is 284 over 360 times pi times, now if our radius is 9, our diameter is 18. So type that into your calculator, and it gives us 44.61 centimetres. Okay, it tells us that it moves 2 centimetres for every 100 grams. So how many 2 centimetres is that? So if you divide that by 2, that will tell you how many lots of 100 grams you got. So I'm going to divide it by 2, and then I'm going to times that by 100. So dividing it by 2, times it by 100, gives you 2230.53 grams. Okay. So just to remind you, I said every 2 centimetres is 100 grams. So I divided that by 2, and technically I got 22.31, but I've kept it exact in my calculator. This is why I've got the 53 creeping in. So that's how many times it was going to move. So that's how many lots of 100 grams I've got. So times that by 100, there's your final weight. I don't like that one, but I hope most people will be able to get arc and at least get something for that. Question 10 is a quadratic equation. It's one of these ones where it's got to show that, and then a part B. If you can't do the show that part for part B, please don't let it stop you having a go at part C. Part A though, it just says how many diagonals does a polygon of 7 sides have? So that's just replacing n with the number 7. So you've got D equals a half times 7 times 7 minus 3. So you've got a half times 7 times 4, which is 2 times 7, which is 14. So it's got 14 sides. Okay. Part B, it says a polygon has 65 diagonals. Show that this is given by this. Now, D is your word for diagonals, so we're going to replace D with 65 here. So, I have, and I'm just going to put it at the other side of the equation. So I have our formula, and D is 65, but I'm putting it over that side. Now, I don't want to multiply a bracket through by a half, so I'm going to times the other side by a half. And that leaves me with n bracket n minus 3 equals 130. Multiply out your bracket, you've got n squared minus 3n equals 130. Starting to look really like that one. All they've done is they've brought the 130 over. So that's us done part B, that's to show that. It then says for part C, find the number of sides on this polygon. So we've got a quadratic, we've got it equal to 0. So we have to factorise it. Two numbers that multiply to 130 and somehow make 3. I think it's a 10 and a 13. It's got to be positive 10 take away 13. So from there, n plus 10 equals 0. So n is minus 10. N minus 13 is 0. So n equals 13. Now n is a number of sides, right? You can't have negative number of sides. So we score that one out and say it's not possible. So our final answer is how many diagonals, how many sides on this polygon? It has 13 sides. So that was a 13-sided shape that had 65 diagonals. And that's what that question was. Okay, this question here, we're talking about the London Eye. So it's a Ferris wheel. Oh, there's been a few of these ones. A Ferris wheel. Remember your height on a Ferris wheel. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. So basically what it's doing is it's making this kind of cos graph shape, right? Or a sine graph shape, depending on how they feel on making up the equation. So this is the equation they've given us. They want to answer certain things. They want to know Emma's height above the ground 20 seconds after the start. So that part there is just replacing t with the number 20 because your time is 20 seconds. So you just do negative 31 cos 20 plus 33 and you just type that in, right? So all in one go and get your answer, and it tells you that she is a height of 3 point, doesn't mention rounding, so let's go with 872 decimal places, and it was in metres. So that is her height after 20 seconds. It says, when will Emma first reach a height of 60 and when will she next reach a height of 60? So basically they want to know when is she at a height of 60. And remember there's two answers. There's the 60 metres when she goes up And then there's the 60 metres when she goes down. So it just wants to know, when is your height 60? So we're going to replace the height with 60. I'm just going to put it on the other side of our equation, okay? So I'm going to have minus 31 cos t. In fact, I'm not going to put the other side of the equation. I've just looked ahead and seen that it's a negative letter. So I'm going to do 60 equals negative 31 cos t plus 33. I'm going to move the 31 cos t over because I don't like negatives in front of my letters. So that becomes positive 31 cos t. And it becomes 33, and that's going to go over and become minus 60. So 33 minus 60 is negative 27. I'm then going to divide that by 31. So negative 27 over 31, and I'm going to leave it like a wee fraction. Right, so this is the point where we go decide, right, what we're doing. It's an all sine tan cos. My fraction is negative, so I am not using all in cos. I am using sine and tan. I'm using the opposite ones. So into your calculator, you just do inverse cos of positive 27 over 31. You do not put the negative in. That just helps you decide what boxes you're using. So your acute angle is shift cos of 27 divided by 31. Nearest whole number gives us 29. So our acute angle is 29 degrees. That's the one that's in your all box. We then apply that to sine. So, oh, it's not x, sorry, it's t, force of habit, we're used to always being at x. So t equals 180 minus 29, and in the tan box it's 180 plus 29. So our answers are, the first time is 151 seconds, and the second time, so I'm just going to write that was the first time, and time equals 209 seconds. And that was the second time. So that was really your answer to part B, and that was your answer to part C. So she first reaches a height of 60 metres, 151 seconds after setting off, and then 209 seconds after setting off on her way down. You don't have to change it into minutes, leave it as seconds. Okay, so this should hopefully jump out at you as being a similar triangles style question, okay? They've told us lots of information here. The first thing I want to do is I want to draw these two triangles out as a small one and a big one. Okay, so the big one has 6 here and an 8 there. All right. The small one, it tells us that M is right in the middle, and then this little bit from M to Q is X. If that's right in the middle, that makes that bit 3. So I'm going to call A to Q, I'm going to call that 3 plus X. And that's what they want you to do in part A. They want you to write down the length of A to Q. So we're going to call that 3 plus X. For part B, they are wanting you to show that PQ is this thing. So this is PQ here. So this is what we are after. Now, the first thing to do is get your scale factor. So your scale factor is, it's 3 plus X all over 6. Now, I'm going to leave it as that. So it's 3 plus X all over 6. Now, to get the length of PQ, you will be doing PQ equals your scale factor times the side that matches up with PQ, which is 8. That gives you, if I times the whole top line by 8, that gives you 24 plus 8x all over 6. If I then simplify that down, 24 over 6 is 4. You can divide both things by 6 individually. So that gives me 4 plus 8 over 6x, which is 4 plus 4/3 x. These ones are nasty, but you just have to think, well, what would my normal method be, even if there wasn't lots of algebra going on? So that's me. That's the end of that paper. Thank you.